This is Mrs. Leffers, Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2, Capulet's Orchard. So this is one of the most famous scenes in all of literature. You're going to recognize it. You're going to know what's going on. The speeches contain some of the most beautiful poetry that Shakespeare ever wrote. It's really cool. Juliet appears on the balcony. This is the scene where we're familiar with what Juliet says, right? Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? This is where we get to see it. She appears on the balcony. She cannot see Romeo, who stands in the garden just below. Remember, he snuck into her backyard and he's waiting there so that he can try to see Juliet. At the beginning of the scene, both characters are speaking private thoughts to themselves. Because it's a play, they have to say them out loud so we can all know what they're thinking. Romeo, however, can hear Juliet as she expresses her love for him despite his family name. Eventually, he speaks directly to her, and they declare their love for each other. Just before dawn, Romeo leaves to make plans for their wedding. Yeah, they're jumping really hard to some conclusions here. Yeah, they're gonna get married. Okay. Romeo says, he jests at scars that never felt a wound. He's talking about Mercutio, and he's like, yeah, that guy's joking, and he's trying to egg me on because he thinks I'm still in love with Rosalind. I'm not. He's like, this doesn't offend me. Rosalind who? So now he sees Juliet above at the window. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady, oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses, I will answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there? They in her head. The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. He really likes Juliet. He just compared her to the sun. He compared her eyes to stars. He's like, what would she be like if her eyes weren't really stars? What if she had normal people eyes? That'd be weird. Because they're stars. He's like, head over heels. So Juliet, remember, she doesn't know that he can hear him. Or that he can hear her. Juliet, ay me. Romeo, she speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night, being o'er my head, as a winged messenger of heaven, unto the white upturned wondering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him when he bestrides the lazy pacing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air. Juliet, O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. So it's commonly confused when she says, wherefore art thou Romeo? She's not saying Romeo, where are you? She's saying where have you been? And why exactly do you have to be Romeo? Why do you have to be Montague at this point? And then she says, get rid of your name, or if you won't, I will. Let's make this happen. I love him too. She loves him. Romeo, shall I hear more, or speak at this? Juliet, 'tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not to Montague. What's Montague? It's nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name which is no part of thee, take all myself. So she's like, what is a name anyway? If your name wasn't Montague, this would not be an issue. Get rid of it. Oh my gosh, I love you, Romeo. But at the same time, she has no idea that he can overhear her. And he totally hears her. And he's like, oh, yes. Romeo, I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth, I will never be Romeo. Juliet, what man art thou that thus bescreened in night do stumblest on my counsel? So she's like, oh my God, what is happening? Who is in my backyard? Creeper. Oh wait, it's Romeo. He's not so creepy. I like him. Romeo says, by a name I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Had I written it, I would tear the word. Juliet, my ears have not drunk 100 words of that tongue's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague? She's like, I haven't even heard you speak 100 words, but I know your voice. You're Romeo, aren't you? Romeo says, neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike. I don't have to be Romeo. I'll be anybody you want, honey. That's basically what he says. Juliet, how camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place, death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here. She's like, dude, if my family finds you, they're gonna straight up kill you, so be careful. Romeo, with love's light wings did I o'erperch these walls, for stormy limits cannot hold love out. And what love can do that dares love attempt? Therefore thy kinsmen are no let to me. Juliet, if they do see thee, they will murder thee. Romeo, alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity. So he's saying, he's like, oh, Juliet, you are far more dangerous than they ever could be to me. Juliet, I would not for the world they saw thee here. She's still like, dude, I'm not kidding. They will straight up murder you. It's going to happen if they find you, so be careful, because I like you. Romeo, I have night's cloak to hide me from their sight, and but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued, wanting of thy love. So he's like, I'd rather die knowing that I loved you than not. So he's like, it'd be worth it. Juliet, by whose direction foundst thou out this place? How the heck did you know how to find my bedroom window, Romeo? Romeo, by love that first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. I'm no pilot, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with the farthest sea, I would adventure for such merchandise. Juliet, thou knowest the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak tonight. She's like, oh my goodness, you overheard all my private thoughts about you, Romeo. If you could see my face, it'd be red because I'm blushing. I didn't mean for you to hear that. Fain, would I dwell on form? Fain, deny what I have spoke, but farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swearest, thou mayest prove false. At lovers' perjuries, they say Jove laughs. Oh, gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou thinkst I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt woo, but else not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond, and therefore thou mayst think my behavior light. But trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove more true than those that have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess, but that thou overheardst, ere I was ware, my true love's passion. Therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to light love, which the dark night hath so discovered. So she's saying, gosh, usually I play hard to get, and I'm a little bit better at this, but it's not going to be that easy now that you've overheard my actual feelings. So can we just cut to the part where we both know that we like each other and not make me pretend to play hard to get because I'm not and I like you? That's what she's saying. Romeo, lady, by yonder blessed moon I swear that tips with silver all these fruit tree tops. Juliet, oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon, that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable. She's like, don't swear by the moon. That thing changes all the time. Unless you're telling me that your love is going to change like the moon. Romeo says, what shall I swear by? Juliet, do not swear at all. Or, if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the god of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee. She just called Romeo her god. She's like pretty serious here. Romeo, if my heart's dear love, Juliet, well, do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning which doth cease to be, ere one can say it lightens. Sweet good night. This bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. Good night, good night. As sweet repose and rest come to thy heart as that within my breast. She's like, oh gosh, this is all happening so fast. I just confessed my love. Told you I can't play hard to get. I gotta go to bed. Oh gosh, this is too much for me to handle. Romeo, oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied? Juliet, what satisfaction canst thou have tonight? Romeo, the exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine. Juliet, I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again. She's like, you already heard my vow. You weren't supposed to, but you did. So, there. Romeo says, wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love? Juliet, but to be frank, and give it thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have. For both are infinite. I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu. So she's like, I have infinite love for you. This is my life. Oh crap, I hear someone. I'm still a teenager. I might get in trouble for this. Go away. Goodbye. Adieu. Bye. The nurse calls from within. Anon, good nurse. This is still Juliet. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little. I will come again. So she goes back and forth. And at this point, she's like, stay right there. I'll come back. I'll get rid of the nurse. Stay right there. Romeo, oh, blessed, blessed night. I am afeard being in night. All this is but a dream, too flattering sweet to be substantial. So Juliet comes back and she says, 3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honorable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow, by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite, and all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world. So she's like, if you love me, marry me tomorrow. I'll send a messenger because we don't have texting, like phones don't exist yet, so I'll send my guy to tell you where to meet me. We'll get hitched. Nurse from within the bedroom. Madam! Juliet, I come anon. But if thou meanst not well, I do beseech thee. So she's like, if you don't love me and if you're just trying to... The nurse from within. Madam! Juliet, by and by I come to cease thy suit and leave me to my grief. Tomorrow I will send, she says to Romeo. Romeo, so thrive my soul, Juliet. 1,000 times good night. She's like, okay, go. Romeo, 1,000 times the worse to want thy light. Love goes toward love as schoolboys from their books, but love from love towards school with heavy looks. So he's saying that love goes toward love like schoolboys run away from their school books if they don't have to do their homework. And he's like, but love from love. And he's like, but me going away from my love is like having to go to school. Juliet. St. Romeo. St. Oh, for falconer's voice to lure this tassel gentle back again. Bondage is hoarse and may not speak aloud, else would I tear the cave where echo lies, and make her airy tongue more hoarse than mine, with repetition of my Romeo's name. Romeo! So she's like, oh, I wish I were a little bit louder, but I can't, because if it echoes, I'm going to be in trouble. Romeo, it is my soul that calls upon my name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears. So here he calls her his soul. He says, it is my soul that calls upon my name. And Juliet's the one that's calling upon his name. Juliet, Romeo! Romeo, my sweet. Juliet, what o'clock tomorrow shall I send to thee? Romeo, by the hour of 9. Juliet, I will not fail. 'Tis 20 years till then. I have forgot why I did call thee back. Romeo, let me stand here till thou remember it. Juliet, I shall forget to have thee still stand there, remembering how I love thy company. Romeo, and I'll still stay, to have thee still forget, forgetting any other home but this. Juliet, 'tis almost morning, I would have thee gone, and yet no farther than a wanton's bird that lets it hop a little from her hand, like a poor prisoner in its twisted gyves, and with a silk thread plucks it back again, so loving jealous of his liberty. Romeo, I would that I were that bird. So Juliet's like, Romeo, you're kind of like a little pet. Like, I know you're a bird and you need to fly away, but I just want you to sit in my hand and like stay here forever. And Romeo's like, I'll be that bird. I'll be that bird. Juliet, sweet, so would I. Yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow. And she goes into her room. Romeo, sleep, dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly father's cell, to help to crave, and my dear hap to tell. So when this play is performed, a lot of times Romeo, there's not a lot of stage directions within Shakespeare, meaning like Shakespeare doesn't often say, unless there's somebody like entering or something, he doesn't typically say where people are or exactly what they're doing. So in a lot of productions, they are like, he's climbed up the trellis next to her balcony and they're kissing a lot. So when we, gosh, I hope we get to come back to school and watch that. But so that is the end of scene 2.